when he was being independent and authoritative, life was fearful. And that isn't the way it is when he's being in this way. And in this way, he's becoming acquainted with, for lack of better words, this favorite term that the ego loves from the Course, that a co-creator with God. When you're letting God be through you, you are being a co-creator. It's just that you don't get to give any input. You know what? You're a co-creator by virtue of not blocking what God is being. There's more. But that's enough for Paul right now. We will take a break.
Thank you.
Okay. Hands. In the dark blouse? Yes.
The question I have today is, there's a lot of fear related to that for myself, and a lot of self-judgment and things.
What else? Of course. That's always the way the ego works.
Absolutely. My concern and fear is about my current level of debt, financial debt. And
a worthy fear.
Yes. And I am pretty angry with myself, thinking about, gee, how did I get to be this age and I'm in this predicament? And why haven't I learned not to be here?
And what is the answer?
I don't know.
Of course you don't. The ego always asks questions that can't be answered. Continue.
Well, my question to you is there, am I in the right employment for myself? Is there something I should be doing, not doing, changing the way that I'm living? How do I go about getting myself out of this?
Get off your case. That's the change you need to make. Get off your back. Stop being down on yourself. Stop assuming that you're at fault, that you're guilty. All this does is immobilize you. It makes you wonder whether to go to work. It makes you wonder whether to get up. It makes you wonder whether life is worth it. It calls everything into question. By the way, what is the right amount of indebtedness for a person your age? What you have to understand is that the ego is not your friend. The ego does not have your best interest at heart. which means your conditioned thinking doesn't. They say, you shouldn't be in this situation at this point in your life. They say it's your fault. They say you should feel guilty, whoever they is. You know, you've got to just tell the ego to shut up. You got to say, "'Tain't so." You're not out of control. You're not out of control, but you're out of peace with yourself. Appreciate that job. And when the credit card statement comes in, appreciate making the payment. And keep making the payments. They will be paid off. And stop evaluating yourself for having them. The real crux here is the inclination on your part to be willing not to love yourself. The willingness, the spontaneous willingness to climb on your own back. And you've just got to stop it. Because it's a ploy of the ego to distract you from your peace and your joy, which, if you let yourself feel it right now under the current circumstances, would allow for a greater flow, for greater harmony. And if there is an imbalance in the debt-to-income ratio, balance will come. But not because they said it should, but because you, in your joy and your peace and your appreciation of yourself and your life, and the absence of internal conflict, causes harmony to be embodied. You've got to be alert. And when these self-depreciating thoughts present themselves to you as your own voice talking about you, expressing what you feel, when they come, you tell them to shut up or say, "'Tain't so." And turn your attention elsewhere. What you need is to love yourself. Now, this unrespectable woman of your age, with the debt you have, has within herself a place of excellence. Lean into it. Oh, you have to be a respectable woman to express wisdom. Nobody's going to listen to wisdom that comes out of your mouth, you middle-aged debt freak. Tain't so. You've got to break the addiction to self-depreciation, to finding fault with yourself. If something seems out of balance to you, notice it, but don't use it as a basis for putting yourself down or wondering whether it calls for a whole life change. All it calls for is an unwillingness, an instant unwillingness to play into the suggestion that it's an appropriate use of your time for you to be in self-criticism. Again, for all of you, no matter how you're currently seeing yourself at any given moment, there is in you a place of unchanging excellence, stable, absolute. And there, in you, is available to you the ability to know what to do, or even if there's anything needing to be done. And you will hear of it for yourself in a way that honors the integrity that is in you at every single moment, no matter how much you've convinced yourself that it's absent. You simply have to outright argue the point when the suggestion is made to do anything less than appreciate yourself. If any of you are making mistakes, you can correct the mistakes without hating yourself. You can change what you're doing without making yourself miserable. So you're making a mistake. Big deal. Stop making the mistake. Do something different. So you're doing something that doesn't work? Big deal. Do something that works. You see, the reaction between recognizing that something you're doing doesn't work and doing something new is useless. Reaction is useless. All that's important is you're doing something that doesn't work and a light bulb goes on. Aha! I'm doing something that doesn't work. Wow, I didn't realize it wasn't working. I'm not going to do that anymore. No reaction here, just clarity. Okay, I'm going to do something different. Well, I'm going to take a moment in my peace and self-appreciation, my lack of reaction, and go to that place of wisdom within me to know what I should do. What is appropriate here? If indeed, at this moment, any action is appropriate. Always do that. When you think you know what's needed, ask about what's needed and then say, if indeed that's needed at all. You see, so that you are not biasing the answer and requiring an action to be revealed to you, because the need may be to do absolutely nothing at that moment. Now, love yourself like I love you, just because. Just because you are nothing more and nothing less than the presence of God. Perfect, marvelous. I'm not buttering you up, I'm telling you the truth. And don't play into the habit, the hooks that the ego throws at you to find fault with yourself. You know what? Anytime you can find a justification for a problem you're having, you've blocked your healing. Anytime you find an explanation for why you have a problem, you've sort of set that problem in concrete. Your husband lost his hearing because of a physical problem he had. Well, what can you do about that, you know? Now we know why he can't hear. And now we know why he can't ever hear. Well, how much help is it to know that? You see what I'm saying? You want to know the truth in spite of the lie. You want to know the truth in spite of the dignified, authoritative, ignorant assessment that someone has given about the situation. We could say, well, okay, maybe your husband's hearing was caused by, or it is suggested that it was caused by a physical problem. Well, what was going on in his mind that caused the apparent physical problem? We'll get this nailed down yet. Somebody's going to blame. Somebody's going to be at blame. Somebody's going to be accountable. And you find out what's accountable, and you're at a dead end. This is a long-standing habit with you. And you know what? That's all it is. See, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Long-standing habit. Ooh. This is going to be a big one to overcome. No big deal. So, it's a long-standing habit, and if you don't do it a moment from now, the habit's broken. And if you don't do it the next moment, the habit's broken. Big deal. You just don't need to do it anymore because it doesn't serve you. And you want to be in your peace so that you can be appropriate in every given moment and find that because you're in your peace, harmony is being embodied. And you know what? You might still have more debt than a woman your age ought to have. But who's counting? Who's checking? It may serve purpose. For things to have been handled with a credit card. And it will serve purpose for the debt to be paid off. But it's not up to anybody else to set a standard for you and hold you to it, and then for you to kowtow to them. You don't have to do it. I said earlier that this place of excellence in you is not affected by peer pressure. Because it reflects God. So, just stop it. The answer is that simple. It's just a habit. Its purpose is not to turn you into a respectable woman of your age. Whatever in the hell that means. its function is to keep you in turmoil. And that is non-productive. The intelligent thing to do is just stop doing it. Simple. And then turn your attention elsewhere, preferably in an area that you can easily appreciate yourself in. And as I said, when the statements come in the mail, open them up, write your check, gratefully pay them, and move on. All the way, each step of the way, staying in your peace and not succumbing to the invitation to judge yourself. Have I been perfectly clear?
Very. Thank you.
I'm not a fool for loving you. You won't be a fool for loving yourself either. Blame it on me. Say, he made me do it. Okay. And right here.
A few years ago, you talked or started talking about a global awakening that you said was going to be coming before too long. With what has happened in the world in those few years, first of all, are we still on schedule for that? And if we are, a lot of sources that talk about global transformation include things like a pole shift in the process. You've never mentioned that I know of. Do you see that as part of it?
Pole shifts, shifts of the axis. These are nice distractions from what's important. So I'm not going to go there at this time, even though I have spoken in the past about them. Is the awakening process on target? Yes, it is. The turmoil that seems to be apparent is part of the process of transition. The resistance to change, but also that which is illuminating the change that's called for. And as you know, I've been addressing this for some months now. And that what it's calling for is the end of isolation and increase of involvement, and the need for you all to be willing to stand with and on behalf of your brother or sister in terms of that place of excellence that's in them, not in terms of the ego dynamics that they might be embracing and embodying. And to let your voice be counted, let your voice be heard. You see, you can't see what your bad habits are. You can't see what your ignorances are. But right now, the world situation is illuminating your ignorances by calling for you to be something you are resistant to being, the things I just spoke about. You'd much rather find safety in a metaphysical cocoon of peaceful ideas. Well, I tell you what, you're through with the cocoon stage. It's time to emerge and to show your colors and your beauty and your capacity for flight where everyone else is still feeling grounded, and display it. In other words, don't hide it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You are welcome. We will have ample opportunity to amplify on this as time goes on. The extremely important point right now, quote, in the world today, unquote, has to do with everyone's need to be willing to come out of the closet and expose your excellence. And to give voice to that which will promote the fulfillment of everyone, even when it requires you to speak firmly and unequivocally against what stands in the way of harmony for the whole. Because the only reason things are occurring the way they are occurring today is because no one knows any better. And so a better way has to come forth, and education is the means by which that better way gets spread. And so someone has to speak up relative to the new paradigm, if you will, the new thing that works. And you have to speak up in the face of the initial resistance that will occur, and keep stating it as often as it needs to be stated, just like I do, in order for its meaning to finally register so that people can say, maybe that's right. And they keep hearing it because the truth that transforms the situation and corrects it is being expressed. I'm sorry, I lost it. You need to be willing to keep expressing it so that then those who think that maybe it's possible say, wow, that's it. And their voice is added, and shortly after they say, I knew it all along. You can't keep hiding your excellence in a closet. And make it through life on an easygoing, fake repartee, being a wise ass, a smart ass, cool. The one who knows exactly the right thing to say so that everybody feels something